Alright, so after World War I, there's a Great Depression that's pretty much throughout the world. There's a couple different reasons, so you kind of have to look at the global impact. So in the United States, we call it the Great Depression, and it's during the 1930s. So October 29th, 1929, the great stock market crash happened here in the United States. There are a lot of causes to why the depression occurs. There is overproduction of farm goods. So during World War I, the United States was overproducing farm goods so that they were feeding the Europeans, the Allies. After World War I is over, though, the farmers don't go back to actually not overproducing. They continue to produce a heck of a lot more food than they need to. And when there's too much of an item, remember, it'll drop the prices. It's the same thing for the factories. The U.S. is overproducing factory or industrial goods, and so what happens is after the war, the prices on manufactured goods is really low, and so nobody's making money, nobody's making a profit. You have the destruction of World War I, and so Germany has to pay all the war reparations back, and so every bullet, every soldier's pension, everything, Germany is responsible for paying for it. Now remember, Germany is not the only country that fought on the Central Powers side, but they are the country that is strapped with the burden of paying for the entire war. And so Germany feels that this is really unfair. By the way, most of their industrial land, the land that they would have been able to get resources for their factories, has been taken from them, and it was taken to Britain and France. And then they've lost a generation of young men, just like Britain and France did. And so Germany's in this hard position. They really don't have any way to actually make good on the war reparations because their economy sucks so bad. And Britain and France are unable to pay their war debts back to the U.S., which is going to hurt our economy as well. You have bank failures throughout the world, throughout Europe, throughout the United States. And basically, banks, when they collapse, they can take all your money with them. And if banks don't make smart investments, and they don't make smart investments like in mortgages, loans out the countries, they can lose everything. And so this is what ends up happening, and so you get banks closing throughout Europe and the United States. The stock market crash is going to happen October 29th, 1929. Part of the reason why it's happening is people are buying stock on margin. And what buying stock on margin means is that you're buying stock on credit. You don't have enough money to actually buy stock, so you take out a loan in order to buy stock. And then when you do that, you have to pay the interest back on the loan because banks charge you interest. And you have to actually make money in order to actually be able to pay off the loan that you had. And so what ends up happening is everybody's buying in the stock market. And if everybody's buying in the stock market, you get inflated prices. Speculation is going on as well in the stock market, and speculation just means that you're buying stock and you're turning it around in hopes of making a quick profit. So you buy it Tuesday, by Friday you've already sold the stock. And when you're doing that, it's like gambling. It's like playing the lottery. So stock values fall very quickly, and they fall because people sell their stocks. Like, if I only got $20,000 in savings, that's not really a whole lot of money for retirement. $20,000 is crap for your retirement. And so what ends up happening is if all my money is in the stock market, I'm not going to be able to lose quite as much. And people like Rockefeller, Carnegie, Vanderbilt, these kind of people, they have money. And so when they start losing thousands a day, it doesn't really hurt them quite as much as it would me, who's just a teacher. With $20,000 in the stock market, that's my entire retirement savings. So if I can't afford to lose it, I shouldn't have it all invested in the stock market. So if it's going to cost you $1 million, don't invest it. So millions of dollars are going to vanish as stock prices start bottoming out and banks fail and people can't pay back their loans. And so you're going to get this downward spiral of the economy. Worldwide effects. The overproduction of agricultural goods has caused prices to drop. It hurts Latin America. It hurts Africa. These are two areas that were growing a lot of agricultural goods. Remember, bananas in Africa. And Latin America has all those big, huge plantations, and they're producing a lot of the agricultural goods that Europe and the United States needed. And so their economies are typically just based on one or two cash crops. And so their economies are going to start seeing a crashing too. So the US has overproduced goods. Europe can't pay back any of their debts. And so you just see everybody, every country in the world going into this worldwide depression. Tariffs, which are taxes on imported goods, are going to be increased. And countries put tariffs on their domestic goods, like they'll put a high tax on foreign goods to protect their current home goods, their homemade goods, their domestic goods. And if the United States increases their tariffs, every country is also going to increase their tariffs. And that will effectively stop trade. So there will be no international trade because the U.S. will raise our tariffs. It's going to be the Hawley Smoot tariff, and it'll be done under President Herbert Hoover. He'll raise our tariffs, and so do the other countries. And so effectively you get worldwide trade ending thanks to tariffs being raised. There's going to be widespread unemployment, and because there's widespread unemployment, you're going to see the youth of some of these countries falling to the criminal world. Businesses fell. There's going to be a decline in trade. You don't have people who have jobs. There's inflation of prices, especially in Germany. So if you can actually get a good, and you can get a good at a price that is considered reasonable, it's almost like you have to buy a whole lot of it, because tomorrow the price could be double, triple, quadruple what you paid the previous day. It's almost like gas prices. Like every once in a while, like you'll notice this, particularly during the summer, you drive one day, gas prices are 5 cents less, and then the next day they're 5 cents more, and then the next day when you get in the car, all of a sudden they jump 15 cents. That's how the German economy is on every item. Europe, the United States, Japan, Latin America, and Africa are also going to be experiencing all these problems as well. And so people get very scared, and they start turning to more radical governments. You're going to get a lot of social welfare programs that start during this time period, and this is a new form of economy by Keyes, and basically what it's talking about is the government should increase their spending. They should use deficit spending, go in the debt to revive the economy. So government is going to push for reforms that are supposed to help with the depression. So in the United States, they're going to do like the New Deal programs under Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Social Security, soup kitchens, bread line, welfare, all this stuff starts. And it's not just in America, but in other countries as well. You get the rise of fascism, which is a totalitarian form of government. And so Italy, Germany, Japan, and Spain are seeing dictatorships or totalitarian governments coming into power. And fascism is a government that attracts really desperate people. It's a very conservative government. They do believe in protecting your land ownership, your private personal rights, but they believe in extreme nationalism, extreme pride, like censorship of the media, and power rests in the hands of one individual. So leaders are going to stress taking drastic measures to overcome economic declines. They're going to renew interest in building up a military, because when you have a military, you have a middle class America, or a middle class Germany, or a middle class Japan, because the military is a good pay. It's a good paying job. And they're starting to become more aggressive, because why would you build up a big military and never use it? I mean, you don't build atomic bombs without the thought process of using it. That's part of the reason why Truman is going to drop the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in World War II. So all this stuff's happening as an effect of the depression that's going on post-World War I. So why do you need to know it? The Great Depression has a huge impact on the world's economy. It has significant consequences in how each nation responds to the suffering brought about by the Depression. Here in America, we're like relief, reform, recovery with the New Deal. In Germany, Hitler says, yeah, we're going to do relief, reform, recovery, but we're going to do it by killing people, and we're going to take their stuff. So, every country has a different form of how they approach things. So, example, which of the following was true of the Great Depression? It was alleviated by the flow of U.S. funds to Europe during the 1930s. The U.S. does do the Dawes Plan, but it's not going to alleviate the Depression. Alleviate means it's going to help. Global agricultural saw underproduction and low prices during the 1920s and 1930s. So when you say global agriculture saw underproduction, production. That means that they're producing less. Okay. C, it was unaffected by Allied war debts. Obviously, Britain and France owing the United States money is not going to be good if they can't pay on it. It was caused by an underproduction of raw materials in European colonies. They're actually producing still. They're overproducing. And it was tied to the payments of the war reparations. One of the big reasons that we see the great stock market crash and we see the Depression is that what you see happening during the Great Depression is Germany can't make good on the war reparations. And that means Britain and France can't make good on the money that they owe us, the United States. And it's just this like, if you borrow from Bob to pay Billy, you still got to pay Bob, and you still got to figure out what's going on with Billy. I mean, it's just too much crap going on. So what happens is World War II is on the rise. As with World War I, AP students are required to know the causes, major events, peace settlements, and significance of World War II. Easiest thing to remember with causes of World War II is this acronym TIRE. Okay. So T stands for totalitarian governments, I stands for isolationism, R stands for revenge, and E stands for economics. So these fascist leaders are the totalitarian governments. So it's totalitarianism, and these are total governments that rule, operate, control this area. So fascist governments that started in Italy with Benito Mussolini in 1922, and Adolf Hitler is going to take that and he's going to twist it, he's going to make it a German fascist, and when he takes control of the Weimar Republic in 1933, it's not going to stay a republic, it now becomes a totalitarian government. So fascist parties become very popular during the Great Depression. It becomes popular because times are hard. And when times are hard, people go to more radical forms of government, governments that promise something. And so fascist leaders typically look to scapegoats to blame their problems. So for the Germans, it's going to be the Jews. For the Italians, it's going to be like the Allies, Britain and France, who they felt like cheated them in the Treaty of Versailles peace talks. They're going to advertise plans for recovery. You know, they talk to the people, and they're the only ones kind of talking to the people, and people will listen to anything, even crazy, stupid people, because those are the people who are talking. And so the recovery is going to plan, it's going to be planned, and it's going to be about becoming a powerful country once again. It's alluding back to the old days, the good old days when Germany was an empire, when Italy was like ancient Rome. You know, they have a heritage, they have a past that was glorious, so they allude always back to it. Fascism in Germany is under Hitler, Italy is under Mussolini, Spain is going to be under General Franco, in Japan you're going to have Hirohito and his army, his staff of generals, and it's a totalitarian government that you see going on in Japan. It's a monarchy. Aggression is starting, so this is where Japan is going to invade Manchuria, they invade China. How does the U.S. respond? We are isolated. So isolationism is a cause of World War I, and that I can also stand for imperialism. So you can see it standing for two things. Because the U.S. is going to remain neutral, isolated throughout this time period, and you do see imperialism going on with Japan wanting to take over other countries in the Asia area. And you see this Japan, Germany, Italy, all taking new colonies, or new areas of economic interest. So Germany is going to annex Austria, and they're going to unify Germany and Austria. That's the annexation. They do that in 1938. They're going to take the Sudetenland area, which is a tiny little slice of Czechoslovakia, but you know Hitler's going to take it all, because in 1939 he does. And remember, that's at the Munich Peace Conference. Britain and France appease Hitler. They give him a little bit of what he wants, as long as he promises to be a good boy from now on. But of course, you know he's not going to be a good boy because he's Hitler. And so they take he takes all of Czechoslovakia. Italy invades Ethiopia, and they really invade for the gold in 1935. Appeasement is done by Britain and France. It allows for aggression because you are going to sacrifice your morals to preserve peace. And Britain and France are very scared. They're not prepared to actually deal with Hitler in 1938. So at the Munich Peace Conference, Hitler promises not to invade any more territories. He's going to get the Sudeland area. Britain and France accept this, and in 1939 he takes all of Czechoslovakia. In 1939, he's also going to sign a non-aggression pact with the Soviet Union, and we don't know about it until they attack Poland.